Hi, this is Evelyn Puerto, and I'm back with another weekly writing update. Last week I mentioned I had finished the second draft of The Girl Who Broke the Dark, and I've been giving that one a rest while I work on the second one, which I've tentatively titled The Girl Who Wrote on Water. In the meantime, I'm trying to figure out a name for this series. It took me forever to come up with the Outlawed Myth series for the first one, and now this series, it's a bit of a struggle. I'm going between the Royal Mages series and the Chronicles of Artable series. If you have any opinions, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. And that's it for this week's writing update. I'll get right into reading the second half of the second chapter of Flight of the Spark. After they rode out of the village gates, Iskra relaxed her grip on her basket and sat up a little straighter. She glanced from side to side at the bare fields lining the road. At least here there weren't too many places for the bandits to lurk. She knew if the bandits attacked, she'd be frozen with fear. "You don't have to be so nervous," the trader said. "There's not been a raid on a caravan lately." "That's good, isn't it?" The trader let out a deep breath. "I'm not sure why they've been so quiet. Maybe it's because the last time they tried it, the guardsmen killed 6 of them. The bandits they took alive, they tied to trees and left for the war boar's lunch." Iskra shuddered. She'd never heard of guardsmen doing such horrible things. She shrank into her seat and crossed her arms over her chest. She cringed at the thought of war boars, tusked beasts with the bulk of oxen and the speed of wolves. They roamed the mountains that towered over the villages nestled in the foothills. "Will the war boars attack us?" "Not likely this time of year. They move up the mountains in the spring. Come fall, they prowl the lower slopes. That's when you have to be careful." The trader glanced at Iskra. "Why do you miss the caravan?" "My friend was bargaining for plums, while I was bargaining for elk. Greed's got us both in a fix." He gave her a half smile. "What took you to Shinru?" "I went with my friend who's visiting her sister. All I wanted was to see something other than Gishin." "And did you?" She wasn't sure if the trader was laughing at her. Different people wearing the same clothes, different kids playing in the same mud, different monument making the same promises. "Disappointed, are you, in your first travels?" She sighed, a little. I don't know what I was hoping for. Something exotic or exciting." She snorted. "Missing the caravan wasn't what I had in mind. Will we catch up with it soon?" "My horses are tired, that's for sure. I drove them hard, hoping to get to town in time. It may take us a while." Iskra bit her lip. "Do you really think we'll be able to before we meet any bandits?" The trader shrugged, the shifting of his bulk making the wagon seat jiggle. "Hard to say. Depends on if they feel like staying home or not." "Where's that?" "No one knows. Some say they keep moving. Others think they have camps on the cliffs or in the wilds between towns." He pointed at the top of the mountain. "One thing's certain. They don't live up high in the mountains near the Riskers." "I wouldn't want to live near them either." "Nor I. Filthy barbarians, those Riskers." They rode silently, following the road nearly due north through open fields. The trader looked from side to side constantly, alert for any sign of approaching beasts, human or otherwise. "Never again," Iskra promised herself, "will I do something this dangerous, even if I have to break the rules." She clasped her hands together and watched shadows made by the clouds scamper across the horses' backs and along the road. After what seemed to Iskra to be half a day of fearful waiting, but in reality could only have been about an hour, they approached the bridge that crossed the river Mirna. "Now listen to me," the trader said. "Sometimes bandits hide under the bridge. Stay real still. If you hear anything, jump out and run. Don't look back." He wiped his face and neck with a dirty brown rag, the sweat dripping from the rolls of fat under his chin. Iskra wondered why she'd wanted to even try to get home. She held her breath as they ascended the slope of the bridge, hearing each clop of the horses' hooves, the protesting creak of the wood planks, the faint echoes of their steps. The scent of damp decay rode the cool breeze. Iskra wrinkled her nose, stifling a sneeze. She let her breath out in a long sigh once they had reached the other shore. "So far, so good," the trader said. "Maybe they've got business elsewhere. Let's hope it's far away." "We're safe now, aren't we?" The trader slapped the reins on the horses' backs. "Safe? Nope. Not till we get to Gishin." That's not reassuring, Iskra thought. She listened for dangers from the woods that surrounded the road that twisted through the trees. Every caw of a crow sounded like a warning of a war boar's approach. Every creak of a tree branch swaying in the wind sounded like a bandit on the move. About half an hour later, the horse on the left stumbled and slowed. "Steady now." The trader pulled the reins to stop the horses and jumped from the wagon. He felt the horse's legs and studied its feet. While he worked, Iskra shifted her glance from the road ahead to the forest on the right, drumming her fingers on the seat beside her. The trader frowned as he gently touched the underside of the horse's hoof. He let out a slow breath. He picked up a stone. "Hand me my bag, will you?" Iskra found the trader's leather bag under the seat and passed it to him. He rooted around in it and withdrew a metal spike with a hooked end. Taking the horse's front leg between his knees, he dug into the underside of the hoof. Iskra winced at the sound of the iron scraping against the metal horseshoe. "Whoa." The trader put a calming hand on the horse as it tried to shift its weight. He dug a little more and pried out a large rock. "That's all I can do now. We'll have to do the best we can." "Can he walk?" "He can." The trader swung back into his seat and picked up the reins. "We'll be a bit slow. Not much chance of catching the caravan now." "You're not afraid, are you?" Iskra clenched her hands together so he wouldn't see them shaking. "No, just terrified," she thought. The trader laughed. "Well, I am. But we'll have to hope for the best. Do you think we should turn back?" "I've been thinking about that. But the afternoon's half gone and we're more than halfway. We'll have to cross the bridge again, which is the most likely place to run into trouble." He paused, surveying the road behind them. "We're best off taking our chances going on." As they traveled north, the pine trees huddled closer to the side of the road. Iskra peeked between them, searching for signs of movement. She licked her lips and pressed them together, concentrating on keeping her breathing even. The wind picked up, raising goosebumps on Iskra's arms. It rocked the branches of the trees that stood behind the pines back and forth, rustling the leaves, sounding to Iskra like 1,000 whispered threats. She clenched her teeth to keep a moan from escaping her throat. A few miles on, Iskra noticed the trader shifting in his seat, leaning forward, peering through the trees ahead. "What's wrong?" She gripped her basket harder so the wood handle bit into her hand. "There's something ahead. Maybe it's a caravan stopped for some reason. Get ready to move if there's trouble. Run up the hill, then cut left and keep going north. Walk about an hour and you'll be close enough to Gishin to turn back down to the road." "But the warboars and the riskers." Iskra didn't know which could be worse. Her knees were shaking so badly she wasn't sure she'd be able to run. "You can climb a tree to get away from the warboars. The riskers won't hurt you if you stay away from them. Better either of them than the bandits. But we haven't seen any bandits at all." "That's starting to bother me," the trader said. "I reckoned they'd want revenge after what the guardsmen did to that last lot they caught. Last month, with all the mud, it made sense the bandits weren't about. I wouldn't have wanted to be on the road in that if I could have helped it. But now the road's drying out." He shook his head. "And no sign of them today. See? There's the wagon tracks." He pointed to the lines in the dirt road, then off to the side. "And the marks of the guardsmen along the edges. I've been watching the whole time, but no one has tried to come onto the road." He shook his head. "I don't like it. Something's not right. I got a bad feeling about this." Iskra squeezed her eyes shut. The one time she got her way with her mother, this disaster had to happen. Why, oh why, had she insisted on going home? She hadn't gotten permission to leave the village for the night. Big violation of the safety rules. The E4